What is your we never speak of this again story? Walked in on a close family member masturbating in the living room. They saw that I saw. Immediately left to deal with something else. Came back and asked how their day had been. They said good thanks. Not so much we never spoke of it again. But I've never spoken of it. In college, skipped the day to play some COD. Got bored and decided to take matters into my own hands. My dorm room was on top floor, 4th, and the window blinds were open. As I was furiously taking out my frustrations, a window washer came up to the window on a suspended scaffold. We locked eyes for a second and he left my window unwashed and slowly went back down. Roommate told me to text him when I got home so we could smoke a cigarette. I thought that's fucking dumb. He'll be able to clearly hear me coming home. So I knocked on his bedroom door and waltzed in, only to see him taking a DK pic or masturbating. I'm still not sure which. He jolted up and said something along the lines of whoa hey, and I just said hi, and then we went outside and smoked a cigarette. Walked in on future mother-in-law while she was on the toilet taking a dump. She did attempt to address it shortly afterward, but I managed to shit it down and we have never spoken of it since, because that's how we do things in Britain. A close friend and I had just gone through breakups and were drinking a lot that week out of depression. One night we end up cuddling to a movie. Things get intimate, hot, passionate, messy sex ensues all over a suede couch. We awoke in the morning and without speaking, grabbed cleaning supplies, scrubbed the hell out of the couch, then clothed ourselves and went to work. Since then we had a laugh about it, but we agreed never to bring it up again. We remain great friends. My, now ex-wife once shit in her hand while we were driving down the interstate because it was too far to the closest bathroom. Edit. First off, thanks so much for the upvotes. To answer some questions for you all. She held it in her hand for a few miles until we made it to a gas station. I offered several times to pull over so she could at least do it on the side of the road, but she refused. To this day, anytime I hear somebody say handy shit, that's all I can think about. A friend and I got super high in his garage. We started talking about previous sexual conquests and we realized we each had an experience with our cousins early on in life. We looked at each other, finished our session and promptly agreed that that was a secret we took to our grave. My best guy friend and I both went through really bad breakups around the same time. That night we got really drunk and attempted to have sex. We stopped after a few minutes, looked at each other, burst out laughing, and agreed we would never speak of it again. It's been 6 years, Hess happily married with a baby boy. We still get together to catch up every couple of months, have never spoken of the incident again. I walked in on my best friend and his sister's girlfriend fucking like wild animals. I blurted out, "Oh, you are bi," and left the room. We had a beer later. They are married now. My best friend and his sister's ex-girlfriend. His sister found greener pastures elsewhere. I almost died. I asked the person that saved me not to tell anyone, especially my wife and family, because they'd freak out. Came home drunkenly with roommate. He did the whole naked man thing in his doorway, saying has been attracted to me blah blah. We fool around. I give him a handjob, he goes limp and I realize he has fallen asleep in my hands. It was so awkward I wound and fell asleep in my own bed in the other room. Woke up, never mentioned it. Nothing. He moved out the next week. I still cringe thinking about it. We're still friends though. My dad wanted to show me a video on YouTube. Pulled out his phone, hit the YouTube app and in the search bar, huge white ass. He hurriedly hit the delete button. I told him next time to just Google the letters PWG. My dad found out how to stream videos from his phone to the TV. Hess testing it out and 16-year-old me asks to have a go. I scroll randomly through all these untitled videos he has in his phone and click on one. The dirtiest, filthiest gangbang porn pops up on the TV in front of both of us and I just had him the phone and walk out. Never spoke about this since. Had a situation in 8th grade. There were a stack of papers on a projector, immold. For whatever reason, there was a mad dash to get them, and as I reached for one I overshot and grabbed a girl's tit. We both looked at each other knowingly and pretended like it never happened. Didn't need to even say anything. Mine happened a couple years back. I was just minding my own business, going about my day, when I get a text from my dad. Of course, I read it since it's from my dad. The text reads, "Can there be slave play in tonight's entertainment? I need you." Me and my sister once found a whip in their cupboard so it's easy to put 2 and 2 together. 5 minutes later, the most sincere, "Oops" I have ever seen pops up on my screen. I never responded to that text and I have never brought it up, but we both know it happened. Oh man. I've got a lot of these. Most recently though, my third tandem skydive, the only one I haven't had recorded yet, because I already jumped at that field. The main chute deployed wrong and had to be cut away, and the backup chute was tangled too, but thankfully the expert was able to untangle it and land us safely. My dad was watching from the ground, but thankfully had no clue how serious this situation was. A girl at party got wasted and puked all over. After that everyone left except for a few of us to help take care of her. While she was vomiting into a bowl she began alternating between puking and farting. We all looked at each other and busted up laughing. This was high school so we all agreed to never tell anyone. In 2003, the Paris Hilton Essex tape was released. My friend and I were both trying without success to download it off our school's network. My friend comes over with his laptop and insists has found it. It turns it on and it turns out to be black transsexual porn. We watch what seems like forever but was probably 5 seconds before he closes the window, deletes the file, shuts the screen and leaves. Drunk and high back in high school, me and my buddy for some reason, decided it would be a fun idea to steal the lawn chairs on someone's porch, and then sit on them in the middle of the street and masturbate. We haven't spoken of it since. One new boyfriend, 1 bottle of Don Julio, 1 string of anal beads, 1 week of torture, 1 trip to a hospital out of town, a fake name, an x-ray, beads not there. 2 weeks later, found in my makeup drawer. Shame on all of you, speaking of it again. About 3 times I've gotten my father drunk enough to talk real about Vietnam. One time I sent my girlfriend a nude, but I accidentally sent it to her home phone. Apparently, any message sent to her home phone number gets redirected to her dad's cell phone. A few friends were hanging out at my cousin's house. My uncle came home and decided to kick us out. My cousin gets in a verbal altercation with my uncle, that ends with my cousin yelling, "I hope you die." My uncle died of a heart attack the next day. Was having edibles with a friend and a girl he knew from college. He mentioned that he had some LSD and on a whim we all took a few tabs after having an edible each. At one point in the night, the girl, let's call her Kat, started shouting a guy's name and I for some reason started shouting a girl's name. In the twisted visuals of the trip, we thought we were said guy and girl and started to kiss. Kat already naked at this point as well. I'm not sure if we ever got as far as sex but it was definitely heading that way. Until I vomited all over her stomach. Haven't had a conversation with the girl since. Awkward. I was 10 and found my parents' condoms. Shudder. I was curious so I ripped open the new box to inspect. I then taped the box back shut. Like with scotch tape. I never spoke of it. My parents never spoke of it, but they sure as hell knew it was me. Either me or my sister. I hope they thought it was my sister. Set a cornfield on fire with my best friend. Easily 70 acres. Cops were called and we hid in the fire-infested cornfield for an hour before we could get away. That's a felony. We don't talk about it in front of other people. Throw away because someone knows my real account. My best friend and I, both girls, had a wildly sloppy foursome with her then boyfriend and his best friend. Copious amounts of liquor and other substances were involved. I had sex with the friend, she with her BF, but there was action involved with all parties in every direction besides. If any other story from that night ever comes up it is solely referred to as that night and we've never actually spoken about what happened besides. It's gotten a lot simpler now that they're broken up. Phew. My brother and I were very poor back in 2009. He was about 19. I was about 10. We were in poverty, scraping by on quarters. One day, outside of Walmart, we found a McDonald's-esque salad container full of cheese fries. We ate every bite. In high school, I played tennis. My best friend was also on the team, and we usually played each other a few sets for warm-ups. I thought I was some hot shit, and always jumped over the net instead of walking around, because that's how cool I was. One day, we were warming up on a game day, so there was a crowd, and after I won, I jumped over the net on the way to the clubhouse as per usual. Except my toe was pointed a little further down than it should have been and I face planted on the clay. My best friend threatened to bring it to everyone's attention, but I bought her Chick-fil-A and we agreed not to speak of it again. That time my older brother and I enjoyed a song in the car, found out later that it was a JB song. Can't tell you because I'm not speaking about it again. My brother has the same name as one of our uncle's close friends, so he mistakenly calls my brother sometimes thinking it's his friend. Has currently in a very serious relationship and last weekend my brother got a call with him drunkenly saying, "I've got 2 girls who will help us out for $300. My brother told him wrong guy again. He stammered and hung up. We both agreed to not mention it to anyone. In my mid-30s, for some unknown reason, my mother informed me that her older half-brother was having sex with her during her teen years. It was eventually caught, and it stopped. They have worked out their feelings, patched things up. She got lung cancer, passed away, and he followed her in the same manner within 6 months. My best friend and I were at a night party. I was just getting over a bad breakup, and he was my biggest support that entire time. We're both dancing and drinking in the kitchen at the party. I walked from across the entire kitchen to him, cut off the girl he's dancing with and shoved my tongue in his mouth. The next day, he gave me a ride home and said, "You're like my sister, you know that, right?" And that ended that. Never spoke about it again. Hess still my best friend and we're both in happy, committed relationships, but it still happened. I was sending a friend of mine a copy of some dirty pictures I had taken of him and a girl from a group sex thing we had taken part of a while back. I accidentally sent it to a family friend of mine and she was very surprised to say the least. I brushed it off by saying I found a friend's porno stash and meant to tease him about it. We never brought it up again. I got drunk. I vaguely remember admitting to myself that I was a secret fan of My Little Pony. She's never brought it up and I'm unsure whether or not she even remembers as she had had a few drinks that night as well. I've never asked about it. 2 years onward, we are still together. My twin and I were discussing our beautiful stepsister. I told him that she and I had done that deed. He told me that he and she had done the deed also. Closed that convo down and never spoke of it again. 40 years ago. At the end of the school year when my son was in 2nd grade, went in to give his elderly female teacher a hug and ended up grabbing her ass. There was a moment of extreme awkwardness, then a quick release. The next year and every year thereafter, the woman never made eye contact with me again. I was waxing my armpits, and I heard a knock on the door. Bear in mind, when I wax my armpits, it's shirt off bra off because wax gets everywhere. And the knock was soft, and my little sister knocks on the door softly, so I'm like, "Hey, sister's name," while I open the door, one arm to cover my nipples, the other in the air to let wax dry, but it's not my little sister, it's my brother. I looked at him, he looked at me, and I said, "You, me, and God." Now, I always check before I open the door,